guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be a Christmas true crime video. I find true crime to be really interesting, obviously. A lot of you guys too. A lot of you guys asked me to do some like unsolved mysteries and true crime things like that. So I have quite a few things, and to make it festive, I mean, it's not really a festive topic, obviously, but the reality is a lot of terrible things happen on Christmas and they're really fucking creepy. So I found some of the most creepy, unsolved, terrifying true crime cases that happen on Christmas or around Christmas time. Most of these actually are on Christmas, but some are just around the Christmas season. So let's get into it. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about, but not really talking about, I just think it's important to note because it is probably one of, if not the biggest true crime unsolved cases of all time, not just at Christmas. And it is the case of JonBenet Ramsey. I did 2 full videos on this basically. In my last video, I did kind of like a conspiracy pop culture video and I talked about the JonBenet Ramsey case. And a couple of years ago I did a full video on it as well. I just think it's important to note because I feel like no one really takes into account that it does take place at Christmas time. And the reason that I'll talk about, or a little bit that I'll talk about, so sorry if you heard this already, it's just so fucking terrifying to me. Obviously, JonBenet Ramsey, a little girl who was murdered technically on December 26th. However, it happened like Christmas night. Like on Christmas Day, they actually came home from a holiday party. The events happened like in the middle of the night, so it was technically on December 26th. One of the creepiest parts about the JonBenet Ramsey case has to do with the Santa Claus that they personally knew. It was like their family like party Santa Claus. He came to a lot of family parties, and when JonBenet was killed, the Santa Claus actually spoke out about this and was like, JonBenet was just so special to me because as a Santa, I give children like presents. I never really get any presents in return, obviously, but JonBenet apparently gave him a little vial of glitter. So that's like sweet and cute and everything like that, but I said this in the last video and it just gets weird. I just think this is so fucking creepy. Santa was going into heart surgery and he brought the vial of glitter with him into surgery, which, you know, first, you know, thing that's kind of weird. But then he told his wife that if he were to die, he wants to be cremated and he wants his ashes mixed in with the glitter that JonBenet Ramsey gave him. I don't like that at all. Like, that just is so fucking creepy. I thought I would mention it. You know, if you want to know the full story of what happened or what people think happened to JonBenet Ramsey, because it is an unsolved case, I will link the videos that I have on her down below. It's really terrible, really sad case, but I just thought the Santa thing was very creepy and very fitting for this type of video. Next case that we're going to be talking about is the mysterious spontaneous human combustion of Matilda Rooney. John Larson spent Christmas of 1885 with Matilda and Patrick Rooney, who were an elderly couple. On Christmas Eve, they were just hanging out, having drinks, chilling, doing whatever, and they ended up going to bed. When John Larson woke up that morning, he was very confused because there was traces of like soot and like dust on his pillow, and he was like, what the fuck? So he went downstairs and found Patrick dead in his bed. Found Patrick dead, however, Matilda was nowhere to be found. So this part's really bizarre and I just can't even imagine seeing it, but he wandered into the kitchen area and there was just a giant like black hole on the floor with like, it's so gross, but with like a pile of ash, and right next to the hole was what looked like the remains of a human foot, which is terrifying. Before they realized it was human combustion, which actually can happen, which literally freaks me out so much, even though it's obviously really rare. Obviously, a lot of people thought that Larson had just murdered them. However, it was later determined that it would basically be impossible for him to start a fire like that large and not burn up the entire house. They ruled it as a spontaneous combustion, which basically is like your body catching fire from like the inside out and then you just turn to ash. I really hate that. Oh, the idea that the fact that it can happen really freaks me out. You like burn at 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit and it's terrible. I can't even imagine. It was actually found that Patrick died of inhaling the smoke, and the only reason that Larson didn't die is because he slept with his door shut. I just think that's so terrifying. It's obviously really sad that it happens on Christmas. you know, you just think you're hanging out, having fun, and then all of a sudden, like, something like that happens. I can't even imagine. It honestly sucks because they really speculated that Larson did it, because obviously when you wake up in a house with 2 dead people, you're just kind of confused, and you look guilty because you're the only one there. But yeah, so I just think that that's way too crazy to not talk about, because I didn't even know that shit could happen, but yeah, it can. I'm scared. So the next story is another unsolved case, and it's really sad because it's unsolved regarding who the person actually was that passed away. Those like Jane Doe or John Doe stories always really terrify me, because I'm like, how does nobody know who that is? Like, it just is so insane to me. Basically, on December 18th of 1996, a woman was found lying atop a plastic sheet in Virginia at the Pleasant Valley Memorial Park Cemetery, which is so creepy just in general. She was about 60 years old and had no identification on her. Alcohol was found in her system and a plastic bag was over her head. There was a note there with her and it said, "Deceased by own hand, ... prefer no autopsy," which is suspicious. I mean, it's kind of weird. Maybe it could really be that she committed suicide, but some people think that she might have been murdered. It just is unclear overall. Not only that, but the letter was signed Jane Doe, which, like I said, the name that they use for if they find an unidentifiable female or if they find a male, it's John Doe. This is really eerie and like cryptic that she signed it like that. Jane Doe also requested to be cremated, left behind 2 $50 bills to cover the cost. There are a few things about this that also are really weird. Like, she set up her own little mini Christmas tree and decorated it like near her body. She died with headphones on and she was listening to the famous 2,000-Year-Old Man comedy routine by Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner. It's so weird. I mean, the Christmas tree is just really, really creepy and sad, like really, really sad. Not only that, but she was found in the section of deceased infants, which is really sad again, because that leads you to think like maybe her child died. I mean, she was around 60 years old, they could tell. But still, that's just so heartbreaking and so creepy. Just like, I don't know, the Christmas tree really freaked me out. The holidays can be a hard season for a lot of people that feel alone, so it just is really heartbreaking to see something like that happen. Still unsolved, and they couldn't figure out who this Jane Doe was. So the next story is, once again, super confusing. Like, this shit is just bizarre. So far unsolved that I don't think that it could ever get solved, because there's so many questions. Basically, in Lockhart, Texas, Trisha White was spending Christmas of 1994 with her boyfriend Lee, who also went by Dub Wackerhagen, and his 9-year-old son Chance. I do not like that. I think it's like a rat in the attic or something, but scared. Shit, why am I home alone right now? Mom. So Chance was supposed to go home to his mother on Christmas Day. However, he called her asking a few more days with his dad. On December 27th, after not hearing from his daughter at all, Latricia's father went to go to her home. He sadly discovered Latricia's body, and she had been shot 6 times, which is just absolutely terrifying. And Chance and Dub were nowhere to be seen. This obviously rose a lot of suspicion because people thought that Dub killed Latricia. That was obviously everybody's initial thought, especially because Dub was known for having a violent temper. So a warrant for Dub's arrest was issued. However, 3 days later, Dub's pickup truck was found abandoned in a field around 30 miles away from Latricia's house. There were many items found inside, including Dub's wallet and checkbook, so it was definitely his car. However, the most insane piece of evidence, which just takes the story to a whole nother twist, because obviously at that point you would just think, okay, the dad did it, he took his son, and they went on the run. However, this is just so bizarre, is that there's a pile of unopened Christmas presents that actually had blood all over them. Weirdest part is that this blood did not at all match Latricia White's. It was not her blood, so that leads us to think, whose blood is this? Where are Dub and Chance? It just is so bizarre, and it gets even really creepier, and I hate things like this, and I just really don't like it. A few months later, Chase's maternal grandmother actually got an anonymous phone call from a young boy that just said, "Help me." And I hate that. I'm so scared. I don't like, why did I film this when I'm alone? The call was cut off and the grandma actually does think that it could have been chance. However, no one knows if like they were murdered that night or what the case was, because this mystery remains completely unsolved and really, really sad, obviously. Either way, more than one person was murdered and it just is terrifying. And just the call really creeped me out and I don't like that stuff, so I don't mess with it. I really hear it. Do you hear that? Dude, what the fuck? Is there someone living in my attic? I'm scared. Next story is so incredibly sad and confusing and of course unsolved. And this actually happened on Christmas Day. So like I said, on Wednesday, December 25th, 1985, after completing her shift at the hospital, Debbie Wolfe, who was a nurse, left work presumably to go home. We don't actually know. But we assume that she went to go home to her house in Fayetteville, North Carolina. The next morning, Debbie didn't show up to work and she didn't answer her telephone, so her parents got really, really nervous because it was so unlike her to miss work and to not answer the phone. So they actually decided to head over to her house, and she lived in like an isolated cabin around 4 miles out of Fayetteville, which is, I don't know, I just feel like that makes me so uncomfy when people live in like isolated cabins like by themselves or even with other people. I just can't relate. Her parents and family friend Kevin Gorton got there. Debbie was nowhere to be found. There was a really weird, and this just like makes it weirder, voicemail left on Debbie's answering machine, and it was from a man who was concerned because Debbie had missed a couple days of work. However, of course, at this point, Debbie had only missed 1 day of work, and it's proven by the hospital. They were like, she was here literally yesterday, so she only missed that day of work. So that's just really fucking bizarre. I wonder if 1985 you could tell like when people left voicemails, because obviously now phones say the exact date that they left voicemails. So maybe like this person could have been the person who murdered her and they just wanted to like kind of clear their name or something, and so they called and leaving that voicemail to make it seem like she was missing for a couple days. I don't know, I just think it's interesting. There was actually a pond right near Debbie's house, and her parents really wanted police to deep dive search the pond, obviously, because that would be just like a natural instinct in a secluded area. However, the police said that this was unnecessary, and that's very suspicious to me. I just think that's so bizarre. On January 1st of 1986, the family decided that they were gonna hire their own people to deep dive search that pond because they really had a strong feeling that they might be able to find either something leading to Debbie or sadly Debbie. In like 2 minutes of deep diving this pond, they found Debbie's body in a barrel. This is allegedly that it was in a barrel. The people that were there say that the body was in a barrel. However, they apparently took Debbie out of the barrel and left the barrel in the pond, and then the next day the barrel was mysteriously gone. That's where things get a little confusing. The police obviously never got to see this barrel, so they deemed her death as an accidental drowning. Didn't really do any further investigation because of the lack of the barrel. However, her family strongly believed that she was murdered because they believe that the barrel was there, but not only that, but she was found in clothes that were not hers. Like, she was found in a bra that was like 3 sizes too big. She was wearing men's shoes. She was wearing pants that weren't hers. So it just is like really confusing overall. There's like a lot of just like inconsistencies with the story. I just think that the voicemail is so cryptic and weird. It's really weird to me that the police didn't want to search the pond before. So maybe one of them had something to do with it. I don't know. There's like a lot about police corruption, and I've talked about it before, and I mean, it exists. We can't just expect people to automatically be good people because they're police officers. You know what I mean? It's really terrifying and really creepy, and I just feel really bad for the family because it remains unsolved. Even though they have such strong belief that she was murdered, it probably won't be solved because the police ruled it as an accidental drowning, and it just is super sad. That is it, and those are all the stories that I'm going to be talking about of all the true crime events that have happened on Christmas or around Christmas season. But that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think about these true crime cases, or if you have any other creepy horror stories that have happened on Christmas, let me know. But yeah, that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram because I'm always posting really dope ass shit on there. Subscribing to videos every week, and I will see you guys later. Bye.